You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.
So heading up our cloud to crypto panel is our friend Paul Jiganti. He's the Managing Director of Business Development and Market Structure Strategy for IMC. Let's put our hands together for Paul!
Well, thank everybody for coming out after lunch. Hopefully we'll keep you awake. That's always a challenge. And thank you, Julie, OCC, for inviting me to be part of this panel with these extraordinary panelists. And you already heard my title. That's all that really matters. I'll send it down the row and everybody can introduce themselves and we'll get going.
Welcome. My name is Tony Zhang. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer at OptionsPlay.
My name is Andrej Bolkovic. I'm CEO at the OCC.
Nick LaMaina, Global Head of Broker-Dealer Solutions at eToro.
All right. So there's several topics that are really, right on the front of our minds when it comes to technology. And that's really how I looked at this panel. And I wanted to start out with, an easy, small one, cloud. So we've all heard a lot about cloud. We've seen, the earnings of all the big tech firms making a fortune from our cloud sources. But we obviously must think that there's something there, and there's some reason to be involved. Let's start out by what parts of the system can you plug into cloud, and which ones can't you? And are you hamstrung by any aspect of the offering or by regulation? Well, just go down the row if you don't mind.
Sure. So, we had the benefit of starting this company 10 years ago, which, at the time, pretty much cloud was the only solution for us. But to answer sort of your first question, from our perspective, where our service and our clients are predominantly retail clients, we're not talking about high-frequency trading. All of our services are built in the cloud. There was no ifs or buts about whether or not we should be on-prem or on the cloud. And what that's allowed us to do is significantly reduce the amount of costs to start up our company. We were able to scale up as our clients needed to scale up, but it also allowed us as a small company to interface with the largest financial institutions that are sitting here, because the cloud in itself already has built into a lot of the security needs that the large financial institutions require from us. And for us as a small firm to be able to provide those services with the cloud was absolutely critical to building our business. So in many ways, and it's really interesting to talk about cloud now, because when we first started this company, the cloud has changed a lot in the last 10 years, right? And especially over the last few years, we've seen a huge gains in terms of AI and machine learning that is offered by the cloud providers. And when we first started this company, that wasn't available. We actually didn't have the resources to build our own supercomputers at the time to do the machine learning that we wanted to do. We actually hired students at schools that we knew had access to supercomputers just to get access to some of their resources. That was how we did some of our early machine learning. But nowadays with the cloud, we can do all of it in the cloud. It's secure in the cloud. Your data never leaves the cloud in order to do your machine learning. And that's been a really, really critical piece of our business.
I love the idea of using the university's computers via their students.
We had to get scrappy.
Yeah, it's pretty scrappy. Andrej?
Yeah, and maybe a disclaimer, I started my career in technology when it was still exciting to do stuff on mainframes and data centers. But obviously a lot has changed in the last 10 years, and cloud does offer a lot of capabilities. For that reason, also, the OCC has decided to transition to the cloud, and we recently received a no-objection notice to move all our critical processes to the cloud. And there were three main reasons why we decided to do that. One is resiliency, and some of the built-in resiliency that comes with the cloud. We're going to a multi-region, multi-availability setup. Scalability, to be able to do large compute calculations on demand without having to have large hardware sitting idle most of the time. And third is the scalability option that you can scale up and scale down whenever you need it.
Yeah, very well said. And I think Tony and Andrej, you kind of hit on the two main points. There's pros and cons to each of on-prem and cloud. And at eToro, we're a hybrid. We recognize that there are advantages, many of the ones that you just mentioned, Andrej, about scalability, resiliency, extensibility, that you can get from the cloud out of the box. And then there's other use cases where you really want to have full control over, let's say, endpoint connectivity and security, where you really want to have some of those services on-prem, where you're not going to outsource. Security is like a big example of it to someone else.
Well, so Andrej, with the OCC, there's nothing, very few of our processes in the industry that are as important as your security.
Right.
Do you run into any issues with regulation over that security? I know you're a SIFMU. How was the regulators? Did they embrace this concept?
I think security is, one of those key components, and the ability to set up in the cloud in a way that's already secure from the start. Obviously, you start from rebuilding something and designing it from scratch how to be secure. The automation of deployments and hardening that comes with, and automated scanning tools that come with the cloud offer an opportunity for us to actually increase our security posture. And that was also part of the reasonings and the argumentation that we provided when we went for advanced notice filing, which the regulator has also accepted. Now, in our particular case, we have also added a third layer of redundancy, so to say. So we have a multi-region setup with a total 6 availability zone. But for the event, really unlikely and catastrophic that the cloud service provider would be completely unavailable, we also have a tertiary on-premise backup solution, because that is one of the requirements that we have as a SIFMU.
So when you're building Renaissance, is something like that designed for the cloud, or is it the pipe going out can go either on-prem or cloud as you're building? Is it a design difference?
The system is designed to utilize the capabilities of the cloud. Obviously, also in terms of what we do, what we have as a responsibility as an organization also goes to what happens in the cloud. We have built the systems to be able to utilize those features that are there. And we believe that will give added capacity, scalability for now and in the future. And that was why we also chose to go down that path.
Now, ultimately, when the scalability seems to come up in most people's conversations around this. When your minimum scale is going to be 50%, is it cheaper to go on-prem at that point, or is it just better to use all the services and cloud techniques that are possible out there to be sold to you? I mean, is that a question? I mean, I guess Nick, who does both, might actually have done the math.
Yeah, I think the ability for you to dynamically have more horsepower, bandwidth, more machines at your disposal, kind of in our DNA, all of us at this point, is we're all fintechs. So there's a lot of technology that goes into it. We put a lot of resources, a lot of staff, a lot of infrastructure, and just things that are as simple as when you're rolling new features out to the market, and you have developers or testers or whomever it is, you want to spin up a new test environment, you don't have to go out and source hardware, have it delivered, have it racked, have it cabled, and all that stuff, just so that you can create a new test environment that doesn't disrupt other functions that the business and the technology teams are working on. In the cloud, you can create instances of your environment that are spun up on demand so that you can try things out, try proof of concepts, things of that nature much, much, much more efficiently and easily.
And while you do that, you don't have to worry about some of the security concerns that come with installing hardware, backing it up, cabling, and connecting to your networks. I mean, those are the things that simplify it. Yeah. But I think to your point as well, I think for certain dedicated utilizations, there might be reasons why you would choose to have something on your own.
Yeah.
Tony, have you found any limitations to it since you've been purely there for 10 years?
We have not been able to get to the limit, I would say, of the cloud yet. I think I think Nick's point is that when you have very specific processes that you need to optimize, you might need on-prem. But from our purposes, where we're not high frequency, we're not low latency, which is two of the, I would say, probably the arguments for having something on-prem or something that you need to be secured. From our perspective, the ability to talk to a client in a new region and not worry about being able to have servers in another part of the world, or if a large institution comes to us and wants to do business and we have to scale up very, very quickly for testing purposes and then scale back down because we've passed the test, these are all real-world examples that we would not be able to do and would not be able to have the relationships we have with the large institutions without the cloud. From our perspective, it's the reason that we're here today.
Well, I guess that flexibility helps the ecosystem grow.
Yeah, especially for innovation.
I think, just to add to that, if you're not careful, costs can become a concern when you're working in the cloud. So it's like a blessing and a curse, this like unlimited bandwidth and horsepower at your fingertips. All you have to do is spin it up, and it only costs a very small amount per minute or per hour, but that can add up very quickly. The expression, necessity is the mother of invention. When you're working with a fixed amount of hardware and a fixed amount of processing power, it forces your technology team to figure out how to solve very complex problems in a very optimized and efficient way. You can get spoiled by the cloud availability and wind up solving problems in a less efficient way and winding up with a much larger footprint that sticks with you for a very long time and racking up fees.
Does any of this sound like cat to you? Oh, sorry. I was brought into some cat discussion recently, and it was largely around the mining for information and doing some queries, and how maybe the users of the queries weren't the ones paying the bills. So that was
performance engineering is a very good point, because the first thought when you hit some performance limits is just add more servers to it to solve the problem. But reality, you probably can solve it by doing some performance engineering, and that's a constant battle that we face with our Azure bill and what we need to do to actually bring down the cost of that bill with some just refactoring of code sometimes.
As you say, giving it at the press of a button has its benefits, and it can increase productivity. But then the downside is you spin up a lot of things, and maybe you don't bring them down, and there's no discipline, and that's when it can go sideways.
So, I think the only topic that's caught more eyeballs certainly in the last month, and I got to find out why, is AI. You've heard about AI for the last, few years. It kind of bubbles up from time to time, and all of a sudden, on every single news show, you see some story on AI and how it's going to change the world, and then it's scary, and then we have Elon Musk saying that it's way too scary. There should be some limitations to it. So the real question is AI in your business? Like, everybody everybody I've talked to recently said, oh, I've got a ChatGPT, account, and it's been extraordinary. And so there's a couple places I want to go, both, from your businesses and from you personally. Are you diving into this with both feet, some trepidation? Switch it up. Nick, you want to go to roll?
It's a great topic. And at eToro, from the top down, our global CEO, Yoni Assia, is a huge proponent of AI and how it can kind of revolutionize a lot of the things that we do today. He challenged us as a company and as individuals in the company to try to incorporate the use of AI technology in our internal workflows, and then let that kind of tinkering and creativeness help any of the product designers, product managers, anyone that has anything to do with influencing how we're going to continue to innovate and disrupt in the industry, to think about how that can help you do your job better, how it can help us better analyze and predict what is something that the customers may want. I was saying just a few minutes ago backstage when we were talking about it, that even as an individual, when I think about that I have a couple decades of experience in this business, that can be a great thing, but then also, whether you realize it or not, you create biases over that period of time. And personally, I've been using ChatGPT to kind of fact check and to get almost a second opinion and be like a virtual research analyst for me to say, this is what I think would be the best way to package something. Ask ChatGPT some prompts about it, and I continually get blown away more and more with some of the intuitiveness of the answers I get back.
Andrej, anything in your...
I think my experience is probably also more personal than let's say, corporate. I think there's obviously been more utilization of AI or machine learning, and some of it is, ingrained already in day-to-day that maybe we don't even recognize or are aware of. If we look at cybersecurity, a lot of machine learning and AI is used already to do, preventative detection. So those are the positive things that we're not even aware that are already out there. ChatGPT and productivity that can be gained from that has gotten a lot of attention. I think I read this morning or yesterday that there are companies out there that are giving subscriptions to their employees to see how they can, be more productive in their day-to-day work. And it's something that we're also, thinking of, how does that influence what we do and how we do it, but we're not utilizing it, let's say, actively. Interesting questions also pop up, in terms of can it be abused and how could it be abused? And there's also already been examples where, trade secrets have been lost throughout that use. So those are the things probably that, you have to consider when you use it, but there's definitely very, interesting possibilities that are out there.
Yeah, so as you said, AI is sort of synonymous with the concept of machine learning. So machine learning has been around for decades. That's not new at all. But, for example, machine learning has been a part of our DNA from the very beginning. And like I said, when we first started, we didn't even have the resources to really do the machine learning we wanted to do. We had to hire interns at schools that had supercomputers just to get access to those resources. So very much, I think we need to kind of better understand machine learning and the different types of models that are out there, because right now we're all talking about ChatGPT, right? And we have talked about ChatGPT because of the specific general use that it's been able to provide. Predominantly, machine learning is really good at solving niche problems, like one very specific problem where you have expertise in something and you want a machine to help you optimize that, a solution for it, versus ChatGPT was a project in effectively allowing any human being to interact with the entire internet in natural language, right? And that requires a whole different set of machine learning capabilities and data sets to train those types of models. But when we refer to AI and machine learning, we're mostly talking about these kind of niche products, right? ChatGPT is really what brought public consciousness to AI in the more recent past. But, if you look at the thousands of AI tools that are available at your disposal today. And I think people started to realize this after we started learning about ChatGPT. But as Nick said, we've almost mandated everyone in our entire company to start searching for AI tools that help provide gains to their specific teams. And the way that I think about AI is that if you're an expert in something, AI makes you anywhere from 3 to 10 times more productive in doing what you're an expert at doing. And if you have no expertise in something, AI makes you mediocre at that specific thing. So, for example, if you've never edited a video before, you can now become a mediocre video editor just by using AI technology. But if if video editing is your career, AI tools now make you 10 times more productive. So you have to think of it in that particular way. And I know that this is an options conference, but I actually think that the productivity that we'll gain from AI is less likely in the short term to be in trading or in options, but more so in just all the teams that make up of our organizations, whether we're talking about marketing or research or finance. The tools that are available today at these teams' disposals that make experts far more productive and make everyone sort of a mediocre version of have expertise in something is what's going to gain that productivity gain for organizations, at least in the short run. Now, as you said, I think you call it revolutionary. I think calling AI revolutionary and what we've seen out of ChatGPT is probably an understatement. And we couldn't possibly think a year ago that ChatGPT could have existed 1 year later, right? And what is going to exist 1 year later from now and 10 years later from now, I don't think we could possibly fathom, the same way we couldn't fathom what the internet would have done for us 30 years ago, right? So it's really that type of technology that AI provides. So, at this point, I think the thing that we're doing for our employees in our company is to just provide the opportunity, the trust for our employees to go out there and try different tools and give them the space to then come back and provide feedback and say, here's what we've tried, here's what works. The only downside, I would say, at this point is that most of the AI tools out there are kind of fly-by-night operations. They're small companies, they're scrappy companies, and because the cloud has powered these small startups to allow them to do them, a lot of them are very tiny startups. So if you do have your organization relying on some of these services to provide critical services, you have to think about the contingencies of what if these vendors or what if these services go down or no longer are in business, what do you do? So business continuity is something that you have to consider if you're using some of these AI tools into your business.
And so this, true novice, I don't have a ChatGPT count. I actually didn't. And I'm going to after this. But I'm worried about data. Like giving up my data, I'm scared that I put my name in there and suddenly, my bank account disappears because it's on my, it's AI on my home computer. Like I know I'm out of my mind, but but is this something to be concerned about?
Yes. Is the short answer.
About me being crazy, or the?
No, I don't think so. I think we just have to be very careful about how it's used, how we give it access to information, and as you said, Tony, a lot of these companies that have produced many of these tools that people are freely using, and who knows how comfortable they become in sharing some of their private information, what it's actually doing with that information behind the scenes. These are free services, most of them, so what is their end game? But for sure, at least in my mind, we have to be very, very careful and be very deliberate in how we want to use these services in terms of productizing innovative features for our customers. To me, it's really, really well designed for big data solutions. I'll give you an example. eToro is a social trading platform. How would I envision this helping our customers? We have social feeds where people post all sorts of thoughts and information whether it be subjective or objective, to use this technology to help comb through all of that data and give kind of actionable insights into without having to read the entire social feed. That's just one example. But to your original point, yes, we have to be careful about what information we give it access to.
I think also the development is way faster. You kind of compared it to the revolution of internet. I recall dialing in through the modem that made those weird sounds. And I remember in the early days there was nothing on the internet. So you kind of looked at it for a couple of days and then thought, like, well, I don't know why everyone's so excited about this. Until much further along in time, we now see the full impact. This is going at a way faster pace in terms of what could potentially happen within a year, and that's what requires us to keep our eyes out open to see how this further develops or could influence what we do and how we do it. And in terms of the comparison to how people can become from zero knowledge to mediocre knowledge, the downside coin of this is also in cybersecurity. Mediocre hackers can, with and through AI, now become really dangerous, and people that have never done anything in this front can push button be a cyber threat. And that's also a development that is unfortunately the other flip side of the coin.
Absolutely. The only thing is that you can't stop it. The momentum is there. Yeah. We can't stop it. There certainly are concerns about data. Should it be regulated? I don't know if you could be regulated, but there's certainly these are really important discussions to have because the momentum is there and we're not going to be able to stop it. So we have to learn how to harness it and use it.
Okay, so going one step deeper, like Nick threw out a concept of, searching the publicly available data that is on his site to mine it for making your business a little better by asking questions. Your questions that you say to your employees are doing. Are they doing? Well, first, are they doing it on their computer? That's their work computer on their, through your firewall. I'm obsessed with that part of it.
So it's both, right? Most of the employees that are using AI at my firm are predominantly using it for their specific roles. So, for example, if they're marketing, they're looking at tools that help them create content faster, edit that content faster, and put it out faster. From a trading perspective, when we talk about machine learning and AI, we're trying to solve very specific, discrete problems on optimizing for trading strategies, right? So I would say that those are quite different in nature from each other. The ones that we are optimizing our own strategies, those are done on the cloud. They're within our cloud and they never leave the cloud. So from a data security perspective, we feel fairly confident with the security on that. It's the other aspect where you're on your home, you're working from home, you're on your home computer, and you're uploading effectively what is company property out to the internet to get something back from it. That's really kind of what you're referring to in terms of security, right? And that absolutely is what I was trying to say, is that these are fly-by-night operations. This is the very infancy of this industry, and there's a lot of. We don't have great answers for some of your questions, and but that doesn't stop us from trying. That doesn't stop us from experimenting. But we just have to be careful about it.
I'm trying to figure out where the pets.com is in this group. Any closing thoughts on AI before I let us get away from this? And I'd love to hear, and I'm actually going to wait to the end to hear your predictions on where we end up with this in a year and how embarrassed I'm going to be about watching the video to see how off I was on my concepts. We can switch to crypto. That's it's certainly had its winter recently. It seems like the pricing is telling you we're in early spring, and changing. And somewhat changing its stripes a bit going forward. Do you support crypto trading, in your business?
So we don't support crypto directly in our business. We are crypto adjacent, I would say. A lot of options traders are crypto traders. We actually end up putting out a lot of research on crypto, but we don't offer crypto trading on our platform. It's funny enough because I'll trade just about anything with a price. And crypto, you would imagine, would be a trader's dream. But for me, crypto is really something that is one of the few assets outside of some index funds in a retirement account. One of the few things that I just buy on a reoccurring buy every single month, and I don't ever look at it. I don't really know where Bitcoin's trading, but I just accumulate small amounts of it every single month, just because I don't know where it's going to go, and I'm going to risk a small amount of my capital that if it went away tomorrow, I won't miss it. But if it does take off somewhere, I'd like to be part of that.
Your son needs to go to college.
Yes.
And Nick, you're like the grandfather on this stage of crypto because you've been in it for 10 years at eToro. Let's hear why. Why did eToro start 10 years ago into crypto? And I see it's still a huge part of your business.
Yeah, so crypto at eToro predates me. I've only been at eToro for 3 years, but before that, at my previous firm, I was a big part of launching crypto services there as well. eToro launched in 2013. It was even before kind of the pandemonium that struck in 2017 when crypto started becoming a household name. It became like a passion project of our founders, is really, I think, where it was, the genesis of it all was. And it saw success in the beginning and just kept growing and growing. eToro's kind of grand plan is that our customers can trade any asset anywhere in the world. Crypto was an early addition to that, but certainly, global stock trading, options trading, currencies trading are also a big part of our overall business plan. There's a lot of changes in the crypto world as far as what's coming down the road as far as regulation, who's going to have kind of purview and oversight over certain activities, things of that nature. But we're still very bullish on the prospects for the industry, the crypto industry, and the number of people that have an interest in investing and trading in crypto continuing to grow.
Now, Andrej, you guys, it's not, other than clearing some of the derivative products,
correct.
Not on your...
It's not on our, let's say, list of features or products that we had, obviously the cash-settled options. I think, there's obviously a lot of talk about regulation. I think there's actually a hearing today between the House Financial Services Committee as well as the House Agricultural Committee are speaking about crypto today. Recently, also, Europe has passed some regulation, the markets in crypto assets, which I think the intent is to, create a framework to enable innovation. And it's interesting to see the types of problems that have been addressed and solved within crypto, even like moving money and cash, around 7 times 24. And I think it's trying to create a framework to, protect the investors, create some kind of integrity, and allow for innovation, but within some kind of controlled environment.
And does it change your view of crypto since the EU has given some framework for regulation going forward? I mean, does this make you want to get into the business?
My view on crypto is fairly long-term, and a lot of those things that have happened in the industry over the last couple of years have not changed my views, if you will, because I really think of my crypto holdings as more of a hedge against, call it the end of the world, if you will. And I hope that we don't get there. I hope that this is money that I'm just putting away that one day will be worth nothing because the U.S. dollar continues to do. But central banks historically over a long period of time don't particularly have great track records. So it's, again, think of it as a hedge. But I actually prefer that, we spend more time talking about the underlying technology that powers crypto, right? Like if we talk about the distributed ledger technologies, how is that useful for, settlement in the future, right? Can we get settlement down to real time, or can we get settlement to be same day? Are these technologies useful in allowing the industry to move towards those types of goals? That's the type of stuff that I think would be interesting to talk about. As far as speculation as to which cryptocurrency is going to make it, from my perspective, I don't know. But I've got some skin in the game.
Mm-hmm. Nick, do you see that? I mean, since you're multi-regional brokerage firm, does that give you hope that the U.S. will join the party?
Yes. I mean, I'm a big supporter of regulation that supports, ethics and responsibility of the operators. So, and also like disambiguation of what the rules are. I think there's a lot of operators in the space right now that want some clear guidance. Like we're taking our opinions and we're saying this is what we think is the best way to do X, Y, and Z. Mm-hmm. But like give us a more prescriptive, specific way if you don't agree with that. I think the community of crypto, the operators, the exchanges, the brokers, would be very welcoming to that, regardless of whether it's in the U.S. or in Europe or in Asia or wherever it is.
Yeah, and my background is actually in currency trading, and eToro started as a currency trading platform and brokerage firm. And if you look at the currency market, look at the brokers that are there. Regulated, arguably quite safe in terms of trading, and it's part of why, what is it, $4 or $5 trillion a day is traded in the currency markets, and it's fairly secure and reliable. You don't currently have that in the cryptocurrency markets, right? It's still a bit of the Wild West with regards to exchanges, and it's certainly dented my confidence in not the cryptocurrency, but where I was trading and where I had my assets. So from that perspective, I would like the cryptocurrency market to get to the point where the currency markets are, where I feel relatively safe about depositing my money in a firm and that my holdings will be there when I need it, whenever I decide to sell or withdraw my cash.
Mm-hmm. Trust and safety certainly came into view last October, November, when FTX had their implosion. Nick, have you seen more or less aggressiveness amongst the participants in the crypto market, or is this a new regime where it slowed down a bit, but it keeps going?
Yeah, we certainly saw some slowdowns in some of the new account growth and some of the trading volumes numbers in the wake of that. But as Bitcoin has kind of come to life in the last few months again and settling in around a 30,000 range, we've seen a lot of those volumes and new account opening activities start to come back to where they were pre those events last November. So yes, it did shake confidence, but I think that it didn't shake it to the core where it's permanently damaged.
So, and the breadth of names that they're trading, for the novice, it's I think of the top 2 or 3. You had, I think we talked a few months ago, you had 40 or so coins that you were offering.
Yeah, the number varies. So we talked about like regulation inside the U.S. and outside the U.S. eToro, we have over 30 million registered users that we source from over 100 countries. So one of the most kind of complex things that we do is manage this like compliance and enablement matrix that depends upon like where the customer is domiciled, what regulator has purview over them, what trading activities they're suitable for, they've been asked to have access to. And a lot of that drives an experience that will vary the number of digital assets or even like cash equity assets or what leverages they're permitted to trade at. In the U.S., we're much more conservative than we are in other regulated regions in the world. where our number of digital assets we offer is much lower.
And do the users of your crypto traders or holders, do they use that as a banking currency in jurisdictions outside of the U.S.? Meaning, I personally see real use case for crypto if you're in a jurisdiction that has hyperinflation or potential for hyperinflation, and you have a central bank that's not quite as in control. And I don't know if I can say that for sure we are, but we're trying. And historically we have in the U.S. Are they using it for banking? Is it turning into a new real currency?
I think in certain situations, yes. I think at eToro, we think that's going to become more and more commonplace. One of our more strategic initiatives that we have is really investing more and more in our eToro Money card program that will eventually give those capabilities if you do want to transact in fiat or cryptocurrencies. But I see that as being something that becomes mainstream. This isn't tomorrow or next month. This is years into the future.
Yeah. Andrej, you don't see this, do you see, I know you have to plan being a SIFMU and all, and actually running a system that clears 50 million options a day. Is this, since it's not on the docket right now, to go to a distributed ledger clearing, in any way do you see this 10 years out, or 5 years out with getting involved in any of the practices at OCC?
I think OCC, started this transformation program, roughly 2.5 years ago, and also, similar to the technology evolution we see now with ChatGPT, you see the similar type of evolution happening on distributed ledger type. When we initiated this was, for us, not a direction that we could go due to, volume concerns. Also, it was, adding yet another layer of unknowns into a very large transformation program. Mm-hmm. And for that reason, we chose to not go down that path. We are, though, trialing out for our stock loan program. We are looking to see what we can utilize from a distributed ledger technology aspect. I think it's definitely interesting, some of the use cases that were within the crypto markets and how money got moved around, and some of the technologies that were used for that solved real-world problems in a way that probably was enabled due to it being a more freer environment than potentially we have that opportunity as a SIFMU. So definitely looking at what's happening in that front, but not something that we're building on right now. There have been also examples where large-scale programs tried that. I think I won't mention the region, but they pulled out of that program, I think, after 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
So you saw the scalability of the number of transactions that could be done on the distributed ledger as one of the limitations of it?
At that point in time, yes. Yep.
Yeah, so those are some of the things that I'd love to kind of see, because there are progress being made in those specific spaces to address those problems, right? And I think we'll get there, but these are the things that I think we should be talking about with regards to crypto and more of the distributed ledger technologies that are being
off stage. I'll explain a firm that's got that a friend of mine owns that does have this going in the scale that would be useful. So it's pretty interesting. So we've got 1 minute and 20 seconds left. So this really is going to be a close call for you guys. Industry future using chat and cloud. A year from now and a few years from now, let's call it 5. Is this going to be just, of course, the AI is part of everything we do?
It absolutely will be a part of everything we do. I came to OIC conference the first time 10 years ago. We had nothing other than a vision and an idea. And so, if it wasn't for the cloud and we wouldn't be sitting here today. So I just hope that there are other startups that will come to these conferences and bring their new ideas, and hopefully we'll see you in 10 years up here on the stage.
Well, I hope not. I'm with JJ. No chance, 10 years. Andrej?
Yeah, 2 years from now, I think we plan to be live in the cloud with all our platforms. So definitely looking forward to that. I think AI, as you point out, and machine learning has been around, is around, and will continue to evolve. And then by then we'll also see, what kind of other use cases we can find for it.
Nick, take us home.
Yes and yes. I think we're just going to see them become more and more part of day-to-day life and everything people do. It's honestly being a part of it is what keeps me excited and invigorated. I can't wait until what things look like 10 years from now.
Well, thank you, everyone, for your time, and thank you, my panel.
You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions@theoptionsinsider.com.